Underground Bunker. This is your proprietor. It's Wednesday, June 7th. I'm in Los Angeles. Today, we finally had that evidentiary hearing about Scientology that we've been anticipating so much, and it was a bit of a wild ride. The first thing, though, that Judge Olmedo wanted to take care of were some housekeeping matters. And she was asking Defense Attorney Philip Cohen about this August 4th hearing they have set up for defense motions. And, the first thing she did was ask Mueller about that third count that was hung. They want a statement, the court wants a statement from the DA. What are you going to do about that third count? I guess a possible retrial might be possible. I'd be surprised if they did, but who knows? But she wants a statement from Mueller about what the DA's office intends by July 11th, I believe. And that'll be a hearing that it's just going to be done on WebEx. Nothing will happen in court. But then she turned to the August 4th hearing, which was set aside for defense motions. And what I expect to happen is that, Danny's attorneys will come up with a brief calling for the conviction to be withdrawn or whatever. And it'll probably be a formality. But she also wanted to talk to them about possible sentencing date. She was saying that it would probably have to occur within 60 days of that hearing. Then Cohen surprised me a little by saying, how about we have the sentencing on August 4th? And she said, okay. So, wow, the defense is going to put together a motion to try to, argue that the conviction should be vacated for various, I'm sure they'll come up with all kinds of things they feel Judge Olmedo did wrong in the trial. But then that same day, we'll see what sentence Danny gets. Just to remind you, he's been convicted of 2 counts of forcible rape under California's one-strike law, which means they are not like a typical rape case. They carry, because they're under one strike, they carry penalties of 15 to life each consecutively. So he's looking at 30 years to life in prison. And it's up to Judge Olmedo to decide how many years he actually gets. Okay, so that's August 4th. That's a big day on the calendar. So then she turned to the evidentiary hearing. And as I've told you before, Tom Mesereau and Sharon Appelbaum were here with attorneys of their own. And it turned out they were very aggressive with the judge. Edith Mathai for Mesereau and Michael Crowley for Sharon Appelbaum were telling the judge, we don't think you have the authority to have this hearing. We don't think you have the authority to question our clients. We don't think there was a protective order in this case. Just all the things about that they did nothing wrong, right? So first what she did was she allowed Deputy DA Reinhold Mueller to explain at length what happened here. What was the thing that went wrong? And he explained what was in these discovery materials and how they had found out about it, that this Vicky Poboreski, who's a Church of Scientology, has been sending letters and emails to the LAPD, and she's met with the chief of the LAPD. And what she's complaining about is she's saying, and this is pure David Miscavige, leader of Church of Scientology, believe me, that they disagree that there's any harassment of these victims going on. And so when Mueller is asking about that harassment in the trial, and these detectives are giving evidence talking about harassment, that the church is being damaged. And so she's telling the chief and she's telling the DA's office, look, you've got detectives that are improperly saying that this is legitimate evidence, and you've got a DA who's falsely, eliciting information that's false. So she wanted the detectives investigated, which I double checked with Mueller. You might have seen what I said. He indicated about that Mueller has received notice that the LAPD is looking into these detectives on that. So the Scientology's getting what it wants. Apparently, the Los Angeles Police Department has started internal affairs investigations of Detective Vargas and Detective Reyes because Vicky Podboreski asked them to. Outrageous. So as Podboreski is trying to convince the LAPD to do this, and she's complaining also to the DA's office, she's showing them this material that the DA's office was only supposed to give to the defense. So clearly somebody on the defense leaked it to Scientology. And so now the question is who? Judge Olmedo allowed Philip Cohen once again to reaffirm that he had nothing to do with it. Sean Hawley reaffirmed that she had nothing to do with it. Karen Goldstein on the phone said she had no knowledge of it. Okay. So that puts the focus on Tom Mesereau and Sharon Appelbaum, the two attorneys who showed up with attorneys today. There was a lot of legal argument from these attorneys saying that, well, there was no protective order, and even if there was a protective order, Danny Masterson is a defendant both in the criminal case and the civil case. He can share the information with who he wants. And Judge Olmedo and Reinhold Mueller are saying, no, this is a criminal case with special rules about discovery. She made it clear that even if she never put down a written order, the things she said in court about discovery and how it should be handled essentially amounted to an order. So it came down to it. This took a lot of time. These defense attorneys are throwing everything at her. They want to delay and submit briefs and all this. They complain that they don't have access to these documents. So finally, after a second break, Judge Olmedo came back and just said, look, Cohen said he didn't share it. Hawley said she didn't share it. Goldstein says she has no information. Mueller says that when they did turn this information over to the defense, it was to Mesereau and Appelbaum. And guess who's got attorneys here arguing over it? So by circumstantial evidence, Judge Olmedo ruled, yes, Tom Mesereau and Sharon Appelbaum shared that information with the Church of Scientology. Now, she didn't mention a sanctions amount in the hearing. I had checked with some people that said the reason why Deputy DA Mueller had asked for $1,000 in sanctions is that once it reaches $1,000, it triggers an automatic report to the bar. And I saw tweets from some of our legal readers who were also pointing that out to me. Well, she didn't say anything in the courtroom today about the amount, but I did just manage to get my hands on her 30-page order. I'll have this for you, but it's gonna be in the morning because it's paper. This is LA Superior Court. They're so backwards. But I did look through it, and Judge Olmedo, first of all, Mesereau's attorney was very unhappy that there's a 30-page order because that says that the judge came into the hearing today already with their mind made up. Oh, boo-hoo. But I looked through it, got to the last page, and what she's sanctioning Mesereau and Appelbaum is $950 each. So just below that threshold where it would have to be reported to the bar. That's disappointing. I mean, look, for my purpose, I'm glad Judge Olmedo came to that conclusion, and we can report now that according to court decision, Tom Mesereau and Sharon Appelbaum shared information they had no right to share to the Church of Scientology. And as D.A. Mueller pointed out, the upshot of all this is the Church of Scientology is the very organization these victims are talking about that are targeting them. You turn over the information to them with their personal addresses and information about their families? Disgusting. So now we know. The court has ruled. Tom Mesereau and Sharon Appelbaum shared that information with the very organization that was targeting these women. And, the amount of money, I mean, it's a shame. Not because 1,000 would hurt them more than 950, but because it doesn't reach that threshold. They're appealing, of course, so that'll last some time. But the important thing is that Judge Olmedo took this very seriously and did make that ruling. So, hey, August 4th, be here before you know it. I'm hoping I'll be back here in LA. We'll get to see Danny brought in. to the courtroom again at that point and receive his sentence from Judge Olmedo. What a journey it's been, people. 6 years every day working on this case. I feel so much for these women. They got justice. It's a shame Jane Doe 3 didn't get a verdict, but we'll find out on July 11th what the DA wants to do about that. Very interesting. All right. What a day. Glad I stayed. Now it's time for me to go home from the Clara Shortridge Foltz Criminal Justice Center. This is your proprietor, signing out.